you've had a lot going on since you joined AEW. We didn't see you wrestle as much as we're used to because, you want to you want to take care of your neck. Neck health is very important. But
Numero uno, baby.
uh, this is a big high profile match, and one of the things that I like about Revolution in particular is a lot of these matches are really getting some time to build up. This one's been official for a few weeks now. Talk to me about going into the match, like Undisputed sort of made this declaration um, when Adam revealed himself, and here's the titles we're going to go after. Talk to me about sort of having that plan in advance and how things have unfolded for you each week, and getting a shot at singles gold in AEW.
Oh, well, it's funny because I was just having a conversation a little bit ago, and it was just talking about how, like, in April it'll be like 1 year so that I've been there.
Hmm.
And I did not expect most of that 1 year to be character.
Hmm.
So I wrestled a lot less than I thought I was going to, but I'm excited about it because it's really got me motivated for one, this match with Orange Cassidy, because he's someone that I have a lot of respect for, and the type of champion and the amount of title defenses, the different style opponents. He really has set a standard that I think is high, and that is what I want to do, but on another level.
Hmm.
So that's why that is the title that I wanted to go after, because that is, you know, just the workhorse title, the blue collar title. You just every week you got to go out there and do your thing, and there's an expectation, and that's what I want. That is the pressure I want, and to have the time to get my feet wet and get comfortable in AEW, and then now be able to turn it up and have more opportunities to wrestle is big for me.
Yeah, I think workhorse title, and what he, not to take away from anybody else, but he really elevated that title, especially the stuff with like Moxley. And just, I think when some fans saw, okay, AEW is getting a new title, there was certain expectations of like what that's going to be. And I think his title reign blew those expectations out of the water. And now you can see that you can have it's not a television title, but it's featured on TV almost every single week, or at least he is. So
Yeah.
it's really been a great experience, just not only watching him carry the title, two different title reigns, but also everybody that he goes up against. Because like the title, I think people have expectations of what Orange can do, and he's showing that he can do much much more than what he did when he first got there.
Oh, 100%. And I think it makes it special because of, the character Orange Cassidy,
Mhm.
and, you know, coming into the mainstream, and like being seen, and a lot of people not understanding, or, but I knew him prior to that, and just knowing how fantastic he is in the ring, how great of a mind he has for wrestling, obviously, to create a character like that and to be able to do the things that he's done, you have to be exceptional, I feel. And, the fact that Orange Cassidy is the guy that people think about when it comes to that international title is mind blowing to me, but awesome, and I have a ton of respect for him for that. And that's why it's such a great challenge for me, because I do have so much respect for what he's done with that. So to beat him and to end that will mean a lot to me.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You want to be the guy that takes it away from him.
Yeah, exactly.
So I wanted to go back to what you said about uh you didn't expect to do as much character work. Was it completely because of storyline, or like was there any, like, I'm assuming you were completely healthy, that was just what the story called for?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, I was coming back from a neck injury, and then there was the one instance where I landed on my head with
Mhm.
Action Andretti. So then I just had to take
But that
some
was more
time off.
that was more precautionary. It wasn't.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. But yeah, and that was a hard thing, obviously at first because I'm like, I want to wrestle. I had not
Yeah.
wrestled for so long prior to that.
Mhm.
But then, like, as time went on, just how necessary it was and how it, just like I said, the opportunity of growing as, and actually becoming a character and not
Mhm.
just being me and trying to be me, because that, I said this in another interview. That just comes with a lot of things that I didn't think about when I'm like, I just want to, everyone's like, I just want to be
Yeah.
myself out there. And then you're like, yeah, all the insecurities come out when you're out, of
Yeah.
myself, you know, the next strong Roderick Strong does not have the same insecurities. He just wants his best friend. He's upset, and
Mhm.
it's just a whole different thing. So it gave me such a great chance to tap into that and gear myself up and be ready to have what I feel like will be the best run of my career coming up.
Mhm. I'll admit that I knew of your work in Ring of Honor, but I wasn't like a huge follower of the brand at that time. But it was a lot more wrestling based than character based if you look at as far as like being a balance. But
Oh,
then you go
100%.
but then you go to WWE and you did a little bit more character work with Diamond Mine and Undisputed Era. Did that like was that an easier transition than going from Ring of Honor to what you did in WWE because you already had
Yes,
like a little bit of like you had a little taste of it already.
100%. And something I loved, working with Shawn. Shawn Michaels is the man. Oh, being able to work with him for those couple of years, our class was with him,
Mhm.
4 days a week for a couple of years, and then just constant conversation but just, when it came to like the Diamond Mine stuff, giving me more of a chance to do longer promos, try to become more vulnerable and stuff. It really prepared me for AEW and something that I've said, but like just having my son and doing things that I never thought I would do in public places because he asked me to do it, like really helped me
Mhm.
like not be as shy and tense when it comes to that. And I just didn't realize how much value that had until I was like, man, I will pretty much do whatever,
Mhm.
like within, yeah. So it was so much easier because going to WWE, I was just, if I couldn't be who I was in PWG, I felt like I just had to be who I was prior and just trying to be the wrestler. And, thankfully, I had the opportunity for them to let me tell my story from my childhood and kind of crafting it, for people to understand why I am the way I am more and
Mhm.
how, obviously in my head, I didn't want to do it as a good guy. I wanted to do it as a bad guy, but it all eventually worked itself out. So, yeah.
It's amazing how your kids will take you out of your comfort zone and how it's a little less scary to do that when they're like, oh yeah, well, like I have daughters, so they're like, oh, will you do this?
Oh,
I was like, oh
nice.
yeah, like like I can't say
Right.
no, right? Like you
It,
hate telling them no sometimes.
yeah. And just knowing you'll get that reaction, like a laugh or whatever, and just, you know, it means so much to them.
Mhm.
So, and then you're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal.
Mhm.
It's just,
Uh, one thing I wanted to go back because I was looking at some of your journey in AEW, the promo where you stood up out of the wheelchair and said you weren't going to be held back anymore.
yeah.
It felt like a payoff, but you also spike the heck out of the microphone. when you got
Oh
out of the
yeah,
wheelchair? Like, do you know if you broke that or if anybody was like, "Hey, watch the equipment"?
both of those things. And I said, sorry, I just blacked out. And I was like, ah, I just was getting the energy out.
Yeah, it
I
was
didn't
really
know I
good.
would be, I didn't know I'd be so hyped to do that, but that was the only way I could get it out. It was either going to be that or just continue to scream.
You've been known to do that. Usually
Yeah.
somebody's name. So
Oh yeah. All, all the time.
I
My
usually
dogs.
there you go.
No, for real. One night, my wife was like, what? Because I had let the dogs out and then I'd follow them around. And then I was like, just yelling. I was like, Mellow, Mellow. I didn't even realize I've just done that for so long. So
Yeah.
it popped me.
I usually do a watch list feature where I get match recommendations. I'm gonna ask, this is gonna be a three-part question if it works, but your best match or most memorable like match or moment from your time in Ring of Honor, in WWE, and AEW.
When I beat Jay Lethal for the TV title, joining Undisputed Era, and debuting in AEW.
Mhm.
That like I don't know. It was it's the same thing like a lot of people. You just worry so much. It's like if people you're gonna just come out there and people are just gonna be like, what? So
Yeah.
like getting that kind of reaction and being able to do that with Adam, and it was like 2 days after my son's birthday. It was all and I was debuting down south where one of my friends, are from, and his family's going through some stuff. It was just, yeah, it was a big moment.
It's kind of amazing how often I hear that now because I remember I think AJ Styles, like his debut at the Royal Rumble was like one of the first ones where I really took note, where he was like, "Hey, I hope I get a good reaction. Like I hope they remember me." And it was just kind of like I think maybe because I'm so like ingrained in it that I was like, of course people are gonna know, but you don't. But I feel like since then you hear a lot of talent say like similar things where like, oh, I wonder what the reaction's gonna be like.
Yeah, and just to know like how true it is, because I mean, I obviously I'd never been taking that much time off ever in my career combined, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then being in the situation, feeling those feelings, I felt the exact same. I'm like, I can't believe I really feel this right now. You hear about it all the time, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh dang.
And that's the other strange thing is you kind of pulled off a surprise when they're very, very hard to do now. Like you leaving and signing with AEW like really flew under the radar. So that that's maybe another element to it. Nobody expected like
Yes.
there was talk like, and I think that's one of the cool things about the group in general is there's always this talk of like when is so and so gonna come back to TV or when is they say when is Bobby gonna join or Kyle, like there's always this sort of ongoing dialogue, but really I don't think anybody thought you were going to show up when you did, and then it was like, oh man, that hats off to you, you pulled it off.
Yeah, it was one of those things that once it went, because after I just it took a little bit after my contract ran up and before I was like cleared.
Mhm.
So it was one of those things that because it had went on for so long, and I think some of the people there thought I was gonna just stay, and it got to the point where I was like, oh my God, I think I can actually keep this thing a secret. And, just there's value in that,
Mhm.
just because exactly what you said. And it was like something that, man, I felt so bad, like just misleading friends and everything. But it was just something that, like you said, it was just like, does not happen very often. So if I can do this, at least I can make it feel as important as I want it to,
Mhm.
which you usually don't have that kind of control over it. So it was nice.
Mhm. Yeah. I don't get me wrong, I like what I do, but most of the time I would love to know nothing. So the fact that
Yeah, right.
it went off the way it did, I was pleasantly surprised. So
Well, I
um
appreciate that.
I have two more questions. First one I'll ask since I kind of pushed the door open a little bit. Any update on Kyle O'Reilly? Where how he's doing?
Oh, he's doing great. I think it's just a matter of him getting, in the right headspace and, you know, training and just building that confidence back up. But I think he'll be back sooner than later. I mean,
Mhm.
hopefully before the summer. That
Yeah,
would be awesome.
yeah, love to see him. And
Right?
any desire to work with Stokely Hathaway again?
Oh, of course. Stokely was awesome. Our little time together. It was during a challenging time for him, for me, for everybody. But dude, he's got a really good mind for wrestling. He's funny as can be, and yeah, of course.
All right. Anything else you want to plug, promote before we get out of here? I know we got AEW
March.
Revolution March 3rd.
That's it. That's the most important thing. March 3rd, live on pay-per-view. Sting's last match, but more importantly, I beat Orange Cassidy for the AEW International title. And let's go.
All right. Real quick, because now that you mentioned him, I can't believe we didn't talk about him. Anything to say about Sting, his career, what it's been like having him in AEW, anything you've learned from him, anything come to mind?
Uh I have so much respect for him. I mean, I haven't had a long conversation with him, but I know that when he made the decision to come back and wrestle, like he has just set such a great example for guys in his position and how they should, you know, handle it, and just he's available if you ever, it's just, man, it's just so impressive. I have so much
Mhm.
respect for him. I had respect for him prior, but like just seeing what he does, for the company, for Darby, for himself. Like it's amazing, and it's gonna be sad that he's gonna be gone. But at least AEW had him, and he had an opportunity to finish his story the way he wanted to.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing to take out of it.
Well,
Yeah.
because not you don't know, he, someone that I thought I was done, when I got hurt, and he thought he was done. It's
Mhm.
very inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all bonus time. And like you said, I'm glad he got to do things on his terms and he's picking his spot here. So uh, it's been a pleasure. But
Yeah.
thank you again for the time this afternoon.
Well,
Best of
thank you,
luck.
Bill.